Game of Thrones Season 8 is scheduled to release the release date for Season 8 tonight before the premiere of Big Little Lies. So that just means you're likely going to be getting 2 uploads from Sir Hunts today. But in the meantime, between time, I'm going to cover 3 confirmed leaks that are guaranteed to happen in Game of Thrones Season 8. Now, there is a small chance that some of these leaks may not come to fruition because just like with every season, nothing is confirmed 100% until it airs on our screens. But as always, here is your spoiler warning. Before we get started, please slap a like on this video as the like goal is going to be 1,420. Also, make sure you're subscribed. And then, this is the most important part, make sure you have your notifications turned on so that way you get alerted every single time I drop a Game of Thrones video throughout this long night. Okay, so on to this first confirmed leak. I figured we'd start off with something fun. Now, according to Dan and Dave, earlier on in the first few seasons of Game of Thrones, it was near impossible to sort of scale the direwolves up to the size they were in the novels. The main reason being because the CGI that it would take to do this and make it look realistic was just impossible to even attempt given the budget of the earlier on seasons. Now, to me, that's crazy because the budget of the earlier on seasons were several million per episode, but this is the final season of Game of Thrones. So that means they're going to do everything to 11. According to Joe Bauer, who is actually the visual effects supervisor, he ended up telling the Huffington Post that Ghost will return, and not just for a tiny cameo. You will see him again. He has a fair amount of screen time in Season 8. He does show up, he's very present, and does some pretty cool things. Now, we don't even really need to dissect that too much, other than the fact that we will get to see Ghost and a lot of the other direwolves last season. If you remember, in Season 7, we got to see Nymeria, even though it was only for a split second, but that scene was not just filmed for no reason to let you know that Arya wasn't ready to go home or her direwolf wasn't ready to go home, because that's not her. Now, in A Dance with Dragons, when Arya takes on the identity of a persona known as Blind Beth, she actually starts to experience wolf dreams and starts to see the starry sky in Westeros. More specifically, she sees the first snowfall in the Riverlands, and she notices that there's not really as much to eat since winter has started to come. And in specifically one of these dreams, she ends up feasting on a male shepherd, his flock, and also all of his dogs. Now, it's side noted that some of the members of Nymeria's super wolf pack are actually afraid of men, even dead zombies. But to Nymeria herself, the leader of the pack, meat is meat, and mankind is her prey. Now, also, it should be noted that when the Red Wedding happens, Arya and Nymeria have this direwolf bond going on, and Nymeria actually discovers the body of Catelyn Tully in the river. Nymeria, who's being warged by Arya, watches this. This is what likely causes Nymeria to go on a Frey killing spree in the Riverlands. Now, obviously, it hasn't quite been set up like that on the show. In fact, none of that has really happened. So the fact that Nymeria is this basically dark force for good in the Riverlands isn't really a thing in the TV show. One thing they could do is lay the groundwork for something like this to pop up. Oh wait, they already did that in Game of Thrones Season 7. Quick side note here, there is a heavy theme of cannibalism in the Game of Thrones novels. If you guys want me to make a video on all the different aspects of cannibalism and how it may give people certain powers, let me know down below in the comment section. Also, in my last video, I jokingly made a joke about how I dine on human meat, and some people took that rather serious. No, I don't consume human flesh. I can't believe I even have to say that. But getting back on track here, like I mentioned before, Dan and Dave set up this Nymeria super pack showing up and meeting with Arya in Season 7 for one reason. And that's to have them reappear in Season 8 and not have it completely lost to the average show watcher of who the fuck is this wolf with all these other little wolves and why are they showing up to help the Starks? Well, now we know because as of Game of Thrones Season 7, we're reminded who Nymeria is. And also that she's still alive. Now, I know there are a bunch of people who are excited to see Ghost on screen and we are going to see him. I'm just not as excited to see him on screen because I do know that a lot of animals and a lot of characters are going to be dying. And we've spent the most time with Ghost out of any other direwolf. So it's going to be heartbreaking to watch him succumb to, I imagine, something like being surrounded by whites, similar to Summer dying in the Three-Eyed Raven's cave north of the Wall. I do hope there are at least 1 or 2 direwolves left in the endgame, but I just don't know how likely that is. We were told by Joe Bauer that the special effects and the budget for each episode next season is going to be about $15 million per episode, so it's completely possible that one of the direwolves could at least live and we see them in the last few episodes after the last, the last last few episodes after the Great War is said and done. Now, another thing that Dan and Dave said that's pretty interesting is the fact that he said when they're doing dragons, they have more of freeway because no one can say, hey, that doesn't look like a dragon because those actually existed. But with direwolves, those actually were real creatures. So when they're making them on screen, they have to spend extra time making them look super realistic when it comes to scaling them up. So in my opinion, they're going to be involved in a few scenes, but for the most part, when they're involved in the battle scenes, it's going to be with other complete chaos surrounding them. So our eyes won't just focus on them, but the background as well. So this is why I think they're going to be heavily used throughout war scenes. Hopefully someone makes them some armor. Gendry, get on it, boy! Now all this talk of battle brings me on to my second confirmed leak, which is that episode 3 will in fact contain the largest battle in television history. Now, Vladimir Furtick, the actor who portrays the Night King on screen, has actually mentioned that this will take part in the third part of the season, and it will take up the majority of an episode. We've also got several cast and crew members who posted on Instagram a picture of this 55 night plaque, which is basically this plaque that was awarded to them after they finished filming this episode 3 battle sequence. Now, apparently this sequence itself took over 55 nights to film, and according to these leaked pictures, there will be every single major army in Westeros at this battle. When you look at the major picture or the timeline in which these events were filmed, everything adds up for this to take part in the third part of the season, the third part being the third episode. In my opinion, I would not be surprised if we didn't see the conclusion of this battle, and it was more like a Helm's Deep situation. If you guys have seen the Two Towers from the Lord of the Rings trilogy in the early 2000s, then you know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. That battle was intense. It lasted the majority of the movie, and at that point in time, we had never seen anything like that on screen. Well, guess what? Game of Thrones is most likely gonna one-up that. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a long siege that maybe mostly took part in episode 3, but then we didn't see the conclusion of it until episode 4. This is the last season of the most popular show to ever exist in existence ever. Now, you may say Seinfeld is that, and yeah, I agree with you in the comedy aspect, but when it comes to top line television series, Game of Thrones takes the cake and will likely remain on top for 10 years after this finale. So with all that being said, I would not be surprised if the dead surround Winterfell and we get to see Jon Snow, Daenerys, and everybody else panicking while they're inside of Winterfell. Maybe this is what forces them to go down to the crypts in an attempt to sort of escape. We do know that Winterfell is going to be basically destroyed next season. Now, there's a small possibility that they burned the set because they were done with it and they wanted to fuck with us. But when you add all the pictures together, included the video clips that I'm not going to show in this video, but basically they were filming sequences outside and there were people that were watching that were able to film it, it is confirmed that Winterfell will be utterly destroyed in the end. Now, the last big battle was in Game of Thrones Season 6, and that was the Battle of the Bastards. There was the train loot sequence, but that was basically all of the Lannister soldiers getting raped by a dragon. Not quite the all-out battle sequence that we were sort of expected when we look at Battle of the Bastards. Now, when you rewatch that episode, the total time of the battle sequence being on screen is a little under 20 minutes. According to Vladimir Furtick, this battle is going to take the majority of an episode. So that makes you wonder if there's not going to be times where it looks like the good guys are winning, then the bad guys are winning, then the good guys are going to make a last stand, and then the bad guys are going to come in and completely destroy them. Oh man, I'm going to move on, but you guys let me know what you think about how insane this battle is going to be down below in the comment section. And this brings me to my last confirmed spoiler for the video. Now, this one's a bit of a doozy, and I kind of had to take a little bit of trust in the people that have been leaking me this information. For the most part, some of these deaths have been kind of confirmed through contract deals, but like I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, nothing is 100% confirmed until it airs on your television screen, or in my case, my monitor. The first potential death that we have happening next season. Now remember, this is the final season, and the showrunners have been catching a lot of shit for mentioning how they're going to be killing major characters left and right, and they haven't really killed anyone major since Jon Snow in season 6. So I think they're going to be making up for that. But the first death is supposed to be Jaime. Jaime's contract said that he's going to be present for 4 episodes of the final season. Well, there's 6 episodes in the final season. So in my opinion, this kind of confirms that Jaime will either be dead for 2 episodes and we're just going to see his body, or, and this one's less likely, is that he's missing from the first 2 episodes and he's only present in the final 4. Here's the thing though, Jaime is a tragic character. We start off hating him and then we end up loving him. And then he goes and does something like raping his twin sister over the corpse of their dead son, and then we hate him some more. Ultimately, Jaime is a type of character who's done so many murderous bad things that there's really no redeeming qualities for him, except for there are in the way that George and Dan and Dave write Jaime. It's amazing. In my opinion, some of his actions in the past are unredeemable in the sense that he's probably going to end up dying at the end of the series, because even though he's come back around and we see him as maybe surviving in the end and maybe even doing something as great as becoming Jon Snow's Kingsguard, that's likely not going to happen. He's a tragic character and will have a tragic ending, and Jaime Lannister is going to die in Game of Thrones Season 8. And next up on the death list is Sansa, and she's supposedly killed by a White Walker. Now, I've actually made several videos on the death of Sansa Stark, and I will refer you down to the description below, but for the most part, she's set to die in two ways, one of which is staying in the crypts of Winterfell and allowing Arya to escape so that the Night King comes and attacks her, just as Arya barely gets away and escapes. Now, that one is the least likely way that she'll go out. And the second way, and this one's the more interesting and more along the line of the themes of Game of Thrones, and that's she ends up getting kidnapped by the Golden Company. Now, it's already confirmed that Jon and Daenerys do arrive to Winterfell in episode 1. There was a leak a while back that came out that supposedly the Golden Company attacks Winterfell before Jon and Daenerys get there. The Golden Company is able to infiltrate Winterfell, and in doing so, they take Sansa captive and bring her back down to King's Landing. This is why you have the images of Jon and Cersei meeting with each other, and Jon is supposedly negotiating the surrender of Cersei's hostage, which at that point in time is Sansa Stark. Now, according to that leak, just as Cersei gives Sansa back to Jon, she gives Sansa a kiss, and in that kiss has poison. So basically, as soon as they make it back to Jon Snow's camp, Sansa ends up dying. Now, obviously, that second one is a load of horseshit, but the chances of one more Stark dying in Game of Thrones Season 8, it's sort of inevitable. The Starks are going to have a major comeuppance, continue their comeuppance from Season 7, and we kind of have to lose one more of them before it's all said and done. Now, these are not my rules. These are just the rules of Game of Thrones. You can't have too much happiness without sadness. Now, real quick before I run through the last few deaths here, Jaime was supposed to die. There was a leak that involved Jaime filming a scene with Brienne. They're overcome by whites, and then Jaime is able to fend off the whites with the help of Jon Snow, but just as they finish, Jaime gets mortally wounded and ends up dying in the arms of Brienne. Super poetic, I know, but for a while, there was actual footage of this scene supposedly happening. But ever since then, I've never been able to find that footage again. Now on to these last few somewhat confirmed deaths. Apparently, Grey Worm is going to die and he gets overpowered by whites. Then we have Podrick, who actually gets turned into an undead. Then we have Jorah, who dies in a 1v1 with a White Walker, and then he ends up succumbing to his wounds later on and dies in Daenerys' arms. Then we have Bran, who is actually killed by Cersei. And then we have Gilly and Baby Sam, who at this point, it's unknown the way they die. Now, like I reiterated at the beginning of this video, I'm going to do it again now. Nothing is 100% confirmed until it airs on your TV screens coming in April. And by the time this video gets put up, we're going to know the actual release date of the season in a few short hours. Can I get a hoo-yah? Okay, so just to reiterate here, we are confirmed to have a major direwolf battle sequence next season. We're going to get to see lots of Ghost and lots of Nymeria. We're going to also have a major battle in Game of Thrones Season 8 that will take place in most likely the 3rd episode. For the majority of that episode, in my mind, I envision this battle, since it took 55 nights to film, the pictures that we've gotten along with the leaks, it's going to be somewhat like a Helm's Deep situation. And then the third confirmed spoiler, or leak if you want to, is that Jaime and Sansa will die at some point next season. Alright, and I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could please slap a like on this. The like goal for this video is going to be 1,420. Also, make sure you're subscribed. The long night is going to be over soon, and I am guaranteed to keep you entertained even after Game of Thrones Season 8 ends. Also, make sure you have your notifications turned on so that way you get alerted every single time I drop a Game of Thrones video throughout this long night. Super special shout out to every single person watching this video right now. I've been making videos on this channel for a little over 3 years, and I can't believe my journey has taken me this far. I want to thank every single person watching right now, every single person subscribed to my channel, and especially every single person who's a part of my Patreon over on patreon.com/SirHuntsReviews. Without each and every one of you's continued love and support, this kind of journey of me discovering how massive of a fanboy I am would not be possible, and I want to thank you all so much. My name's Mark, and this has been Sir Hunt's Reviews.